After going virtual last year because of the pandemic, the North Country Chamber of Commerce's yearly breakfast with the mayor and town supervisor of Plattsburgh and the chair of the Clinton County Legislature returned in person this year. Mayor Chris Rosenquest talked about the city continuing to develop the Saranac River. He hopes to get the council to invest $1.5 million in the city's parks and recreation sites, and more than $2 million to develop a broadband and Wi-Fi network to offer city residents. But Rosenquest said there are also challenges and needs, including housing.
As you all know, housing is a concern, a major concern. Not just like, hey, it's a problem brewing. It's a problem that's been brewing over the last 10 years that has gone unaddressed. Now it's time for the city of Plattsburgh to step up and create a more progressive policy for housing and securing housing.
Mark Henry, the chair of the county legislature, talked about the hope that the new runway at the airport could help lure a new airline to offer daily flights to Philadelphia, replacing the current United Express flights to Washington. SkyWest, which operates the current flights, is pulling out of Plattsburgh. Henry also talked about the encouraging signs that two companies are looking at the former county airport, which has been turned into an industrial park.
This project has already exceeded our expectations, and further, the project is designed for further development. We are set to break ground in the spring or summer, with developers and engineers firmly committed to completing these two large-scale projects.
And Supervisor Michael Cashman focused on the town's new housing project right in the heart of its commercial district.
5 buildings, 80 units. It's a $24 million investment northwards. It fits within the efforts of the town to really capture an ideally situated location as a live, work, play environment that abuts up to important things such as employment opportunities, healthcare, retail, and recreation.
And Plattsburgh Town Supervisor Michael Cashman joins us now. Good to see you. Welcome. Nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's always good to be with you.
We just heard some of the issues facing the town, the city, the county, some of the new projects that are underway on the drawing board. What is at the top of the town's agenda right now as we head into the spring of 2022?
Corner to corner throughout our municipality, there's lots of opportunities that continue to percolate to the top. But to identify some very specific opportunities is at the old county airport. It's no longer a county airport, and we need to start looking at that space, what it's going to become for the next couple of generations. We just adopted a smart growth plan for that particular corridor of town. It represents about 600 acres out there. So we're also very hopeful for some mixed use, some residential, but we also know that there's a couple of companies that are already scratching at that property to get out there and put shovels in the ground. One of them that's already been working through our planning board represents about 285,000 square feet of new opportunity. So that's very exciting.
And you can't get into the tenant or the company or what they do?
What I would largely say right now is it's going to be in the manufacturing realm, shipping, distribution, but stay tuned because it's definitely moving forward from where we sit. It's been working through the town's process. We're very excited about that. And then there's another local business that has been very dogged about their interest in being out at Mountain View as well, and we're very hopeful that that comes to fruition. But it really builds off of the momentum of things like Monahan Medical, the Development Corporation putting their beautiful new headquarters over there, building another building out there. The town of Plattsburgh also continues to work in partnership with the county and also the TDC to build new infrastructure out there. We're working on a new road, and we're working about extending wastewater and water to that property in such a way that it will activate the space. For a long time, I think people looked at that property and said, yeah, maybe eventually it will get developed, but we're now seeing that get activated, and we're also seeing a lot of interest of people wanting to be there over the course of the next couple of years, not 20 years out, but over the course of the next couple of years. We see tons of opportunity there. Again, the concept is mixed use. It's not just an extension of an industrial park. And we want people to know that right up front, because there's some great property that abuts right up to the beautiful portions of the Saranac River Trail. And we're really hoping to see that space become mixed use. We need more housing. That's another big thing that the town of Plattsburgh has been advocating for and punching well above our weight on.
We have some new housing going up over behind Hannaford's, over behind Hudson Headwaters. That project went up within the past year. How many units are there, and is that ready to open?
Yep, so it's about 5 building, 80 units. And what that project represents is activating a space where there's only about 350 residents in a 2,000 acre section known as the town center. So by bringing in Northwoods, folks are going to be able to walk to places like Hudson Headwaters, Hannaford's, Price Chopper, other places for shopping. So it's a nice and natural fit. What we're really working on is addressing what's called the missing middle. And we want to see more mixed use even in the town center corridor through our smart growth plan. It is anticipated that they'll be open by June, but I wouldn't be surprised if they open a little bit earlier. So it's a great project. It's very similar in the service needs of Atlas Heights on the other end of town that opened last year, and that's been a huge success. So we need to see more projects like this. And I would anticipate with the governor laying out a 5-year, $25 billion housing plan that the town of Plattsburgh will be in the eye of the opportunity moving forward as well.
Plattsburgh, no different than other communities. There is a shortage of housing.
Affordable
housing.
Affordable housing, or to put it another way, workforce housing. A lot of times what's happening is those two things are married together, is people live maybe too far away to be able to make it affordable to get to a particular job, or they're looking to relocate. And we could go down a laundry list of things that need to be addressed in the larger community, such as childcare, but housing is certainly, in my opinion, one of the top 3.
Atlas Heights, you teamed up with Plattsburgh Housing Authority on that, and that is an area that you're looking at, that the town is looking at, New York Road.
We are.
What are some of the plans that you're looking at there? I know some of them include new lighting with the New York State Power Authority.
Yep. So among many things out in the New York Road area is, I would remind people that the town of Plattsburgh took old infrastructure from the base, and we really need to do some upgrades. So some of the ways that we're going to go do that is we're going to do a road diet on New York Road, so we're going to actually shrink the road in a little bit, but it's also going to provide the opportunity for bike lanes, better walkability, connectivity. It's also a great corridor that is shared between the town of Plattsburgh as it goes into the city of Plattsburgh. So we're going to do some beautification. We also continue to experience multiple developers that are looking to be out in that corridor. So by strengthening our infrastructure and working on the beautification part of it, it just kind of sells the property a little bit more, and it really makes sure that we're in a position that we're in a good spot for the next 20 years.
And some of the other projects in town that you have going on, you mentioned the infrastructure. The town has really been ahead of the game, ahead of many other towns and villages when it comes to taking care of the infrastructure problems, as you mentioned. In many communities, the infrastructure is old and outdated. You've had a multi-million-dollar project underway for a few years now to deal primarily with water and sewer.
We have. So our water capital plan represents approximately $24 million. It's been about 3 things: health and safety, sustainability, and economic development. So when you start hearing about the projects that are going on in the town of Plattsburgh, many of our projects touch one of those categories, if not all 3. One of the big projects that we're continuing beyond last year is a new well that will actually be at the site of the May Courier Park. It's 800 gallons per minute, and it goes into our water system. So it's not just about meeting the current needs of water for a community. We're thinking about how there is a growth factor within our community. We expanded our water supply by 1 million gallons a year or 2 ago with a new water tank. So it's this infrastructure that is the bread and butter of local municipalities that allow us to continue to see development.
So the water project, also the street lights, some of that funding will come from the American Rescue Plan funding.
Correct.
That you'll get from the federal government. Also, some of that money will go to a traffic light. And this is a traffic light in an area that a lot of people have probably been saying for years.
Yeah.
We need a traffic light here. Ampersand and Ruger Street,
Yep.
Consumer Square coming out the back way right near the SUNY Plattsburgh Field House.
Yep.
an area that where housing has gone up in recent years. And have you seen quite a dramatic increase in the traffic there?
We have seen an incredible increase. The other thing that we're doing in addition to the traffic light, which is really exciting, is we've finally finished the sidewalk connectivity from Treadwell's Mills all the way down, connecting into the city of Plattsburgh.
The Central Corridor, a few landmark businesses, restaurants were lost during the pandemic.
They were.
Ground Round and Friendly's and a few others. Are developers waiting to see how the pandemic plays out before those properties may be looked at by developers?
Restaurants have been savaged by this, and we really have to be mindful that it's going to take some of the industries some time to kind of get back up on their feet. And new businesses may be looking at it saying, hey, I'm gonna wait the extra 5 or 6 months before we pull the trigger on some investment. But we feel really comfortable in saying that people are tapping us on the shoulder, they're asking for meetings, they're doing their research, they're coming into the region, and they're doing the good work that usually leads to somebody pulling the trigger on some of these bigger projects.
The labor shortage
Yep.
affecting restaurants and so many businesses, affecting the airlines. As we've heard, United Express, SkyWest pulling out of Plattsburgh, citing that they just don't have enough labor to continue to man all the routes that they're flying. Leaves the city and the town and the region looking for a new airline to come in. One is bid. It's a smaller airline that would have smaller planes flying to Boston. Is the hope that a larger carrier may still step up and look to have jet service to some one of the major hubs in the East?
That definitely is the hope. The airline industry is a pretty fickle one. There's lots of pushes and pulls and things that are pressure points in that system. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see something sooner rather than later.
2 years into the pandemic now, and as we start to get back to normal, as people get vaccinated, as we've seen in recent weeks, as we start to drop some of the mandates and the mask mandates, the border is still the focus for a lot of people, especially here in the North Country, and trying to get that flow back, trying to get them on the same page, which they're not, as far as talking about getting traffic flowing once again. Is that a huge priority for the town, working with other government officials here in the North Country to try to get that back to as normal as possible?
Absolutely. I was one of the early voices that called for the need for metrics and data points and a plan. A plan can be recalibrated, and that's what we lacked from the very beginning of this global pandemic. And here we are trying to continue to navigate things as each country is responding to various data points and as well as the politics too, let's be honest. So I'm hopeful that we'll get there.
Michael, always good to see you. Thank you so much
Likewise.
for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks.